first what we're going to do is we are going to add now how to add a student to the database. So since we do not have such table students, we are going to create one. So to do so, we are going to go to Chrome to actually do it. So we're going to go to Chrome here and go to console. In the console, you can see there, you can write here like DynamoDB. And in the DynamoDB, you're going to open it's going to open your DynamoDB dashboard. And on the DynamoDB dashboard, you are going to see like, well, how do you create a table? So you can click create table. It's going to say we will need a table like students. Yeah, this is what we want. So students, stream students. Let's like that. Stream students. So we want like that, and we want to have like student ID. So this is supposed to be our table. So we are adding a student ID, and we will gonna create this table. You can use this default settings. That's perfectly fine. And as you can see here, our team students are being created. So this table is gonna be available in the next literally couple of minutes, maybe a minute or two. But it doesn't matter, we can already start coding our stuff. So I mean, you can see here there's a various options like items, metrics, alarms, capacity, index. So you see it's created. So yeah, it's done. If you click on items, you can see that there are no elements. This is the primary key, so it's required to be there. So let's do it. So let's go back to our terminal. In our terminal, you can see that we have just a few endpoints which are statically providing students. And yeah, so we can, just a second to check my you can edit in the comments also. So as you can see, we have these routes. One route is returning the list of students, the other is getting one student, and based of course on static data, and a third route is doing the render HTML that we did before. So what are we going to do is now we're going to connect the database. But to be able to actually communicate with the DynamoDB database, you first need to import this node module with the AWS SDK. It's quite simple. So you just exit here, and while you're here, as you can see, my terminal got messed up a bit. Yeah. So yeah. Let's see what's happened here, because while I was doing something, yeah, it's all cool, just my terminal got stuck. So what we're going to do now is we are going to first install this module that we need for AWS SDK. You just did it by saying npm install AWS SDK, and at the end you say minus like capitalized S, which means you want to save it as a dependency. And I mean, now it's installing it. So basically, you know, what's it doing is just pulling back AWS SDK for you to use in your project. So yeah, so that's it. That's what's been done. So it did AWS SDK. Great. So it's done. Added. So now to use it in our project, we'll just open again our file. I mean, you can use your classical building tool. I'm just using Vim at the moment, but you can do these things in your terminal, in your classical environment or whatever you want. So first we're gonna add here like our AWS SDK. So first we're gonna say AWS, so we make a constant equals require, we are loading our AWS SDK. So we have it. Now we should, as you got it, you also need to load up the special document client, the document client for DynamoDB. Document client is a kind of small library that you need to use to be able to communicate with DynamoDB, because your serverless functions, your functions that are online, I mean on a server, I mean they are on in a small container on AWS. They can communicate with DynamoDB as as a standard, let's say, set. And to be able to do so, they need to somehow access the SDK and DynamoDB's library, let's say some object based on which they can, you know, do stuff on in DynamoDB. So to do it, you will need to import that. I mean, to set up. So you do it like that. So you say you can say document client, we can name it like that, because it's a NoSQL database. So basically you need to you're actually dealing with documents, you know. So you say here first, you say like this, you say new. So first you say AWS, but maybe I should name this differently. You should name this differently when you're dealing with some entities like SDKs which are requiring modules and stuff like that there. So it's sort of that way to do it. So you say AWS DynamoDB dot document client, and you're creating a new instance of it. So and it's going to be loaded once, because once your function gets set up, it's going to be loaded once. So this is where you do it. And then, for example, we now want to, I mean, that's it actually. This is all you needed to do to set up your communication with DynamoDB. That's it. Now you need to actually use it. So how to use it is we're going to show it on an additional service, which is going to be to add a student. So you say here like API, and you say post, because we want a post method. So you just say API.post, and you define here a route. The route here is going to be students, because you should put it in plural. So you're posting to students. So you're creating, you're adding two students basically. So you do here like function request. You can also do just like, for example, like arrow functions. You can do just request. You don't need to put function request, but you know, for the sake of you know, as we name this in our project like function request everywhere. This anonymous function. We are going to use function as the function keyword to define. So this is what we're doing, and so we have /students. So what we want now is, first we want to get from our request this data that was passed, which is in the body. So we are going to first get this data. So as you know, from our students static file, which I can show right now. Just let me let's show this from a students file, students.json. As you can see, we have just student ID and student name. This is basically the same that we are going to add to our database. We don't want to make it too complicated. You can add a lot more attributes the ones you want, but we're gonna just add these two. I mean, the student ID is the primary key, and student name is gonna be the second. It's gonna be some values or attributes for our students. So let's go back to let's open back our file. We can go here and we are going to now retrieve our parameters passed in the request. So we are going to say first we need a student. We're just going to need student name. So we say student name is equal to request body student name. So that's basically it. So later I'm going to show. Later we're gonna add more maybe attributes or something like that, but for now let's just add student name, because we don't need student ID. Student ID we're going to generate ourselves, because we need to have it unique to be able to actually later easily get our students, or load them up and everything retrieve them in our system. But for now we're just going to just pass the student name. This is the only thing that we need. So how do you now how do you actually send to the database? So you are going to first, sorry, I got a bit distracted. So you're going to first, we want to return a promise. So you're going to say return dot document client. You say put, and you pass here an object. This object first needs like a table name. So you're passing a table name. As you can see, it's camel cased. It's Pascal cased. So it's Pascal case. So basically, all of these attributes need to be Pascal case, which means the first letter needs to be capitalized. Every word actually inside a combined word needs to be capitalized. So here, you're passing like what's the name? If you remember our table, let's just check. The name of our table on Chrome is stream students. So let's go back here. So we say stream students, and we put on to this table with this name we put an item. This item is going to first have a student ID, so we need to pass a student ID. But as you see, we didn't pass it as a parameter to our method, to our API. We are going to generate it. We're going to be, for now we can just add one, but I'm going to change it later with we're going to use unique IDs, so unique UIDs. So because they're actually much better, unique UIDs are much better than numbered IDs, because it's it's actually there has been a post like maybe even 10 years ago almost now about them, and they are basically super bad because other users can guess, you know, that there are some others like 1, 2, 3 when they're auto incremented. So if in case you're using auto incremented IDs, it's not that secure, to be honest, like that. So now we pass student name, and we pass student name. Just a second to check if there, in case there are some comments or questions, because they have been in the past ones. So student ID, student name. In the student name, we pass the student name that was given as a parameter, and that's it. And then you just say return a promise, and that's basically it. How you create a student. This is all you need to communicate to your database. So first, let's actually solve the situation where there is no student name. So first, let's actually, in this case, when there is no student name, let's just return like a message, a simple message like no invalid request, you know. So that should be it. And here we are going to we forgot here to add this part. So let's now do Claudia update, because we want to deploy our function. We just now deploy our function. Yeah, so basically with Claudia update, I'm not sure if people are following or not, but with Claudia update, you are basically deploying your whole function to AWS. So it's quite simple. And yeah, so basically this is all you. Okay, so there's an unexpected token. So let's see what has happened here in Next.js. We come here. So there's a missing. So yes, we have overdone. So now we do Claudia update. What we did was just didn't pass. We added an additional brace, and so they didn't. Our application didn't expect this kind of stuff. This wrong brace. Yeah, I have been on many of my projects. I have added. Yeah, so there's something wrong. Can't read property document client of undefined. So yeah, we now mistyped DynamoDB. We should have added. Now I'm checking here. Yeah, so we have done it that way. So as you can see, Claudia is literally checking each of the times. How does your code work? Is it okay? Does it pass? Do these objects exist? I mean, it literally starts your function, and I mean, it checks it basically it verifies if it's fine, it's validated. So now it has been validated, it has passed validation, and now it's zipping it, and then of course uploading. So this is going to be done very quickly, so we should already start to go and switch to our API, but we're not going to switch to Chrome, since we are not going, because we need something else to send our data. So we're going to send our data to this service using Postman. So we can test our service. Postman is very good for testing services. So yeah, so let's go to Postman. So first let's copy our link. As you can see, there's from some of my previous attempts. So let's take a look. Let's just post, nothing is gonna happen, missing authentication token, great. So that's it. So now we go here and we go to body, and we say student name, and we can say here, for example, what if a student is Homer Simpson? Right, student Homer Simpson. But we don't need this because this route doesn't exist. We just do post students. That's our application. This is what we want to test. So we click send. And what we did is says, so it says here, I accidentally clicked. What we did here is when we sent here, it actually got a pretty bad response. It actually got an error message. It says that our service API is not authorized to perform DynamoDB put item on resource on DynamoDB stream students. So it means that our Lambda doesn't have the permission to do it. So we are going to open up back our DynamoDB console. Actually, we're going to go to Lambda, and on Lambda you can see that actually, now that as it's loading, you can see when we open our student service API that it only has like access to CloudWatch logs. You can see here like to which elements does it have access to, and so to add this you can click, but it will add triggers, so we don't want that. We want to add like its permissions. So if you come around here, you can see that this is the execution role. Yeah, so this is the existing role. With this role is if you remember from yeah, I didn't pass, it's here. So if we open up our Lambda, just to repeat, if we open up our Lambda, we are showing this is our Lambda function on the AWS console and the AWS dashboard. As you can see, we have this Amazon CloudWatch logs. This is the only thing that has been permitted to our Lambda. And if we click here, DynamoDB is going to add triggers. So basically, this is you have a list for triggers. It's a designer for triggers. But how do you add permissions? So if you scroll down, you can see here there is this execution role which defines the permissions of your function. We have an existing role, which is Student API Service Executor. So how do we add permissions to it? By going, actually we add it by going to IAM, which is Identity Access Management. You can also write it here. So in the search, but we are going to open Identity Access Management, and here we go to roles, and here you search for your students API. Let's see if there is no. So it doesn't do quite well the search. I don't know why, so I guess it's kind of slow on that. But let's find our serverless, not our students API executor. If I remember correctly, so students. It says no API. No. So let's, if for example, if in this case, like I now totally didn't remember what was the name, it is a student service API. So of course there is no students. You go back to IAM and you open up here and use again, go back to roles. Here you search student and you get service API executor, which is what you want. when you open up here your executor dashboard, you can see you can unwrap this part and you can see it in JSON, and you can click just here edit policy if you want to edit policy. There's a visual editor, but it's easier to have full to have proper like control over it So it's, as you can see, it's a simple JSON file. You just add here like DynamoDB, and you here put item if you want to add items. Now, since we want to add actually more stuff, you know, for DynamoDB, we can add more permissions, you know, like to get item, we can get an item, we can maybe update an item, whatever, but let's just say put item for now, and we're going to show you later how to add others. Also, it means this actually means this is a simple one statement. So it's a statement of multiple statements, basically, which says in effect to allow an action, these actions on resource these. Since our resources are not going to be here, I mean, we can actually do another statement here and just write here like effect, you know, allow, and you say here which action. So you want to have an action on which kind of actions you want to add. So you can add this, and on which resources. So you say resource, and you say here on everything. For example, you want to add item. You want to actually add this on all resources within DynamoDB, so on your policy, not just logs, you know. So I mean, you can add here like ARN and say AWS, and now here add these stars and everything, but you can just, I mean, we can just put a simple star. It's the same, it's simple, not star, but yeah, asterisk. So yeah, you just say review policy. If it's okay, it says it's fine, perfect. DynamoDB write on all resources, perfect, save. So as you can see, it's quite simple and you can quite get the hang of it. Yeah, so now what we're going to do is we're going to again invoke our service through Postman. We go Postman. On Postman, you click again send, and now it says return status 200. Okay, great. Okay, so let's first check if it did save it. So we go back to Chrome. So in Chrome, we open our console. In console, we go to DynamoDB. Then we will see again the dashboard for DynamoDB, and you want to click on tables. You want to see the list of tables, and here you're gonna see stream students. That's our table name. So you click here items, and yeah, as you can see, we added our first student, Homer Simpson. Okay, so now the question is, how do you retrieve items from a table, and how do you update a single item? So first of all, let's do how do you show the students. So let's go back to our terminal. Sorry, and in our terminal we're going to open up this our index.js, and when you open up index.js, you will be able to say, okay, we want to get a student. Let's say first return all students, and then we're gonna finish how to get one student. So let's see. So get a students is not going to use these students anymore, this static list. It's going to actually do the following. It's going to say document client, and then it's going to say scan. So because we wanted to get items from a DynamoDB table, is a method scan, which is like retrieving, scanning your table. It's going to get scanning is actually a method which works in a quite interesting way. It actually gets everything from the table and puts it back gives it back to the requester. I mean, to us, or for example, in this case, you're in the API, you're going to return it to your customer, to your client actually. So you can say here again, you need to again say table name, and you need to say stream students. So as you can see now, a good practice would be to you see this table name stream students would be actually to create this this variable as a constant because we're going to be using it all the time, and you just say const table name is stream students. But we're not gonna say table name. We're actually going to name it students table, and that's it. So now we come back here, and we are going to replace this table name. So you can say table name students table, which we defined above, and here we are going to actually go back to the where we use it again. It's going to be so students table. So some may be asking, okay, why are you actually doing that? I mean, why did you set the stream students text, like the name, into the students table? For some people it's quite obvious, of course, but let's explain just in case somebody is still asking a question. So the reason we'll be doing it is because in case we want to change this students table name, we want to do it once and to be applied everywhere. So for example, if we change the stream students table name to let's say stream exams, then it would be just one line, one element here, and it's all done. So we save a lot of time. So we also don't repeat ourselves, and then the code is cleaner. So yeah, so this is basically how you define this students table name, and that's students table. Now you also want here to do a promise. We also want to do here a promise to return it as a promise, and let's see what happens here. So let's do a Claudia update. So now again, it's going to validate and check our elements. It's going to check all of our API service. If we did some syntax error maybe in between, you don't know that. And yeah, so we can see what's happening here. So yeah, it's now uploading our function. Let's see what happens next. So it's zipping. I mean, this process is basically that we don't have to do it by ourselves manually. It's a piece of cake. So is it going to update in REST API? So we are just using Claudia to help us update to AWS Lambda and to have our serverless function working. I mean, to be working very quickly instead of us doing it manually. So this process is kind of boring, as it is, of course, but yeah, so it's there. So let's go to Postman to check if I'm not Postman actually, because we did a get. Let's go to Chrome and we can just request from there. So we go here and we do get all students. So what is going to appear? It's gonna say first, okay, I didn't change this. Is going to say, oh, okay, error message is not authorized to perform DynamoDB scan. Great. So it means this permission is missing on AWS. It's missing on your AWS Lambda function. So let's do it very quickly. We just go, as you can see, this is our table. We need to add permissions. Permissions are added in IAM, Identity Access Management. You go there, you open it up. It's quite easy to do. You go to roles, and you go to our student executor service API. Just write the name of your function. Basically, how does Claudia create it? It takes your Lambda function name and you just add dash executor. So that's it. You go here to see policies, log writer. It named it log writer inline policy type because that's basic how they add it. So you just say edit policy, and here you can basically go on JSON. Let's see if we can actually add something here. So you say actions, and yeah, we want to say, you see, it's quite easy. So you can say you want to read also, and list, and yeah, basically that's it. And you just say review policy and full list, read, limited write. That's what we want. So we want to give our functions, our function to read everything, list everything, but have just a limited possibility to write with put. As you can see, it added a lot of stuff here. So let's go to now again to our other service. Let's click refresh. It's gonna say Okay, items, student ID, student name, Homer Simpson. So as you can see, it added actually some few elements which are like, these are the items, this is the count, this is the quantity of them. I mean, this is the quantity of items that were returned. So basically this is, you can, it's quite, it's good to actually return all of this, but some people don't like the naming, and because it's actually, Pascal cased. So it's not that pleasant, So let's actually parse it in our way, so we can actually, get a proper list. We can actually return like total, total, like which mean the number of, as here, count, and just return the student name like as in data, something like that. So let's do it. Let's go back to our terminal. It's quite easy to do. We open our index.js. You go here when it's returning this promise. I hope you're familiar with that. So you just add here like then, which means you want to handle this promise. And here you say, okay, I got like this object which is like response, scan response. It can be just response. So we can just do this. So we say first we want to return it as an object which will have data. The data will be in the response.items, and the total will be in response.count. So basically that's it. That's that. And let's see how this works. So we saved it, and we just do now Claudia update to deploy our function to AWS Lambda. As you can see, the only boring part here is actually deployment. I mean, it's actually much faster than you would do it manually with AWS, but the only boring part here is deployment. So we are installing in production now. I mean, it's packaging files actually. Claudia is packaging, validating, and zipping, then updating your routes and everything. Yes. Now, if as Claudia is doing that, let's go to our Chrome, and let me just check if it's yeah, it's updating in our request listeners. So we're gonna wait here a bit, and as you can see, like, so this scan operation, as you can see, it's also returned as the scan count. The scan operation on AWS, that for DynamoDB, it actually, when it actually scans all of it. Like this is why it's called scan, and it scans all of it, all of the table, and then because we wanted to get everything, we just did scan, which was the simplest to do. But if we were to do, for example, get one item, I will give you a short. Scan is not. You can pass to scan, for example, parameters. You can say, I want to filter out these items, so you add a filter expression. And let's just check if it passed. Yeah. So you want to pass. As you can see, let's first refresh. Yeah, as you can see, it's returning what we said. So it's returning an object response with data which has student ID, student name, our data, and with a total number of 1, which is perfect what we want. So basically, let's go back to AWS scan, AWS DynamoDB scan method. So this scan method returns the whole of it, the whole table, all of the contents, which in case you have like 10,000 is not going to be good, it's going to be super slow. So I mean, it's useful if you can pass some parameters, like to limit it or to add some options, like I want some section or whatever, but to actually get something from it. For example, if you want to get one item, which we are supposed to do in our next API, you would actually have a bit of a problem, because it will again load up the whole table, and then use the filter based on the response, which is based on the filter which you defined. I mean, let's actually take a look. Yeah, I want to show you the AWS SDK on that. Just a second, so you can see document client scan, and yeah, so you just do that, document client, AWS SDK for JavaScript. It's gonna open up, yeah, this. So this is the DynamoDB document client, and you can see here, like, so we have scanner returns one or more items and item attributes by accessing every item in the table or secondary index. So you see it literally accesses every item and then returns the one which you want. This is not exactly what you want. So you know, if you want to get some elements by for example by ID, so you can actually do this, you know, get, as if you want to see how it works. So basically you just say get and a primary key by delegating it. So basically, you know, you can say table name, the key, hash key, and pass it, but actually the key is attribute name. So hash key is not, you know, this is the primary key. I should maybe have written here primary key instead of hash key. So because it's a document type database, so basically you're like searching for raw documents to find the one you want. It's literally behaving like a real person. So let's go back to our terminal, and in our case, as you can see, we are going to use get, you know, so to get one item, and we're going to pass this parameter. As you can see, these are the attributes we need to pass. So we go to terminal, and let me just check if there are some possible comments. And chat, no questions, good. And then you go here and let's see, we go back here, and as you can see, we are here using the static data from the students that were required here in the static JSON. So this static data from the student JSON file, but now we don't need it anymore. So first, what we're going to do is we are going to go back here and delete this table, and this line, also this one, and we're gonna go back here and we are going to actually delete this line as well, and this line, and this line, and this one. So we're going to actually now here is do like a return document client get. What did we say as the parameters were? It was the table name, so we say table name, which we defined before, so it's students table, and we say here key, based on which key we want. The key is student ID and student ID, and we say here also request dot path params, and we say student ID. So this is what we are doing. So we are saying key student ID request path param student ID. Great. Yeah, so basically here we need to say promise to return this element, and yeah, I think this is everything that we need. But first let's check here. Let's handle this method in case there is no. So we say if request dot path params dot student ID doesn't exist, so we pass here, and we say here, let's just return for now response no student ID. You haven't passed, make sure that's better, you haven't yeah, so you haven't passed the student ID. So basically it will not do anything. Let's do this, pass here semicolon. I didn't properly set, yeah. So yeah, it's request path params student ID. Yeah, that's it. You can delete this line with no problem. And we say save. Now we do a done Claudia update. So what we did was just we we use document client, we passed the table name, we passed the key. Now we should return our get, our using the document client get method. It should return our value, our student. Since there are no students, we'll have to, since we have just one student, we'll have to check on that one, which is going to be Homer. But later we should actually add maybe a bit more, like we should add student like student ID. You should add more students, and also handle the situation what if the student like that doesn't exist. So we in the 10 parameter, if there is no student with such address, we should handle this response and give it like, hey, there is no such student, or we can just say, you know, we should just return no such student in our database. And if this passes, we're gonna solve the situation. That will be actually everything that we're supposed to handle right now for connecting to our DynamoDB database. We can do some other stuff the next time, but let's first check on Chrome what's happening. So we go here, we refresh, so it's returning our student. No, it says student table is not defined. So we made a small mistake. Where did we make a mistake? Let's go back to our terminal. In our terminal, we can just say vim index.js. So you see errors happen. And oh yeah, we deleted our students table. Yeah, so this is what we need. We need students table is equal to what did we say? Stream students. We just say here stream students. Let's pass Claudia update. So as you can see, this error has gone through because Claudia doesn't check everything what's happening sometimes inside your request handlers, inside your like API endpoints. It checks if there is no like syntax error, but you know it cannot check because, as we know, JavaScript is weakly typed, so it cannot probably know everything. Insipid package going well. Yeah, it's gonna be quite easy to check. It's gonna be quite easy to check. Yeah. So I'm waiting for it to see. I wanted to see if everything's went well up by side. Yes, so it's there. So let's actually let's check how it went well. Yeah, so let's go back to, I don't know why I checked 2 times. Let's check on our Chrome and let's refresh. See, it's always good to check. Yeah, it's returning the proper one. Now let's take a look at student number 1. As you can see, it said item, student ID, Homer Simpson. So as you can see, we need to handle this situation as well. So we should just return the student object. So let's go to our terminal. In our terminal, we're going to be doing now 2 things. First thing is that we are going to handle the situation when there is like a response. So we're going to handle the situation first, 2 situations. The first one is we're going to take this student from the item response, as we saw, and then we are going to check if there is any item. Then to if there is any item, we are just going to say we're going to return it. If there is no either item, we're going to return a message, hey, there are no items here. So we can just say there are no students here. So we're just gonna do this. So we're gonna first say let student equal response that item. So if there is no student, then you just say then we just say return no student with that ID, with the specified student ID. That's it. If there is a student, we just say return student. Now we should also take a look below, because below we can see that there is, when we're creating, we have this statically set number 1. So let's actually pass first. Let's actually set the UID module, which is going to be used for generating the going to be used for generating the unique IDs for our students without using the auto increment function. So we're just going to say we're going to exit this, so write an exit, and we're going to install a module called UID. So I'm going to say npm install UID, big S to save it as dependency. Now it's going to download it, you know, get it from npm, extract it. As you can see, everything is written here, and that's it. So now we go back to Vim to set our file, and we say here const UID equals so this model comes with a various, there are a couple of things it comes, but it has a v4 v6 type, which are like version 4 or version 6, which have a different way of how they generate certain UIDs. The v4 is one. I'm gonna show you actually what they do. Let's go to Chrome just to show you UID npm UID. So now it's gonna show us this. Yeah, so UID version of choice. So it has various versions with v3, 4, 5. I thought that they have v6, but it seems they have just up to v5. So it depends, you know, like version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 UIDs. So cryptographically, use cryptographically strong random number API. So basically, you know, based on the standard RFC 41142122. So, you know, for getting those types of UIDs. I mean, basically, you should use it whenever possible to set the properly unique IDs instead of those numbers auto incremented ones. So let's go to terminal, and in terminal again we open our Vim where we are going to check our we are going to actually use this UID by in this case. But let's go back at the top. Let's see. Yeah, we are using UID v4. I mean, if you pass this to UID as we did here, it's going to, if you do UID/v4, it's going to use the v4 version for UID. In any other module which has this kind of setup, you can use specific elements within it. So we want here to use to change this student UID. So basically, what you just do, you just say UID, and you use it as a function. You just invoke it, execute it, and it's going to return the UID from the version 4. So we rewrite it, save it, and let's update it. So I think with this we have basically done we have connected our APIs, student APIs, to both the DynamoDB for getting all students, for getting a single student, for saving a student. The next time, maybe tomorrow, yeah, I didn't write it properly, yeah. So we have an indexer. Next time we're going to do yeah, it's of course. Next time we're going to add update and delete. They're quite simple. You just do add two endpoints which are going to be put and delete, and literally you're going to use the similar commands in DynamoDB, delete item and remove item actually, and put to actually update certain students in our database. So yeah, now while it's updating, yeah, it's gonna do it very quickly, but now it's packaging, and it's gonna just do validating and zipping for locally. Yeah, validating, zipping, yeah. So now it's zipping our package, and then it's gonna upload it to AWS. So yeah, let's go to our Chrome while it's setting up Lambda and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna go to our service here. Let's just do a little check here if it's finished, the deployment of our function to AWS, to our AWS Lambda container, function actually, function container, yeah. Yeah, it should be done almost now. And we're going to test these three elements. First one that we're going to test is if the get and get one is working, and if there is no get, if there is no item, if there is no student with this specific item in the database, what's it going to show. So first let's do that. Does it show the current one? Yeah, it shows as we said. Does it show the one which doesn't exist? No student with a specified standard student ID. Perfect. Okay, now we need to test how does our service actually save new students with different IDs. So let's open our Postman. In our Postman, we can pass here, for example, let's say Marge send. Is it gonna save it? Yes. Let's say we also need Lisa. No, let's say Bart. Let's do one by one. Send. Okay, great. Let's do Lisa now. And then let's do Maggie. Send. Yeah, perfect. So now let's go again back to Chrome just to see if they're all there. So how we're going to test, we're just going to remove this parameter. And yes, as you can see, we have student ID, Marge Simpson is there. Student ID 1, Homer Simpson is there. Bart Simpson, Maggie Simpson, and Lisa Simpson. Total 5. Perfect. But as you can see now, you can see also these UIDs. I mean, it's extremely hard to guess these, and this is why these shouldn't be used in this path parameter. But okay, as in your browser, you should not use them in your web application. You should just use them from your web application to communicate to your API. Nothing else. And you should put, for example, possibly, if possible, some part of it, for example, the first part of the list along with the name, so you can combine those and find that student inside your database. So let's actually now try to get, for example, Maggie Simpson, and we can say student slash Maggie. Let's see if you see it, everything. Yeah, it returned this one. If you go back, if we want to see, for example, Lisa, we just copy this element here, this UID, we add slash this element, Lisa Simpson. Perfect. If we change just one, like to say 6, it's gonna say no student with specified ID, student ID. Perfect. So this is basically, just let me check. So this is basically what you want in your application. Let's just open it again, just to see how does it look like. So this is our API. Our API has this get students. It has get student by slash student ID. So to get one, as you can see, we just check here, like if there are request path parameters with student ID. If there isn't, you haven't provided student ID. If you want to get one, you just say to DynamoDB document client, you just say, hey, DynamoDB from the table name students table, which is here, stream students, you get me a student ID with the key with this student ID, which you passed. Perfect. If there is nothing, there is no student with such specified ID. Perfect. So, for example, this method is quite solidly defined. You don't have to worry anything about it. I mean, if somebody tries to pass even some weird stuff, it's gonna be checked by Amazon. Also, if somebody tries to hack you or whatever, but it's gonna check this proper student ID, does it exist, and that's it. Post students. Here you can you pass just a student name, so it's gonna create a student with this student name. So we also have this last fourth method, which we defined in the previous. Sorry, I'm moving a bit too fast. This API that get your render HTML page. This render HTML page is actually good for. We used it last time to show how you can use your APIs. So let's say serverless API to actually render your some HTML page or whatever you needed. So yeah, so basically this is it. This is it for tonight. Of course, there's, I mean, if you have some any questions, you can send me in the comments, or you can ask me directly while I'm streaming or whatever. I'll be happy to respond and to answer how does this work. So as you know, for now we just did the getting all students, getting one single student, and saving one student. Tomorrow we are going to be adding updating a student. How do you update a student with some, for example, what do we do if we want to change its name? And the second part is what do we do if we want to delete a student? So how do we how do we delete students? Is actually very simple. We can do it very easily. You just do, for example, here you could just do like a simple let's say after this get a student, you just do an API delete, delete, and you just pass here like slash students, and you do a little function. I just forgot here to add a quote, and you have here a request, and you pass here and you do document client.delete table name with this key, and it's gonna delete it. I mean, it's actually quite simple. We could even do it right now, but it's gonna take a bit more time. So let's do it actually tomorrow to do something easy to start, and then something later and then something else to be more complicated, like update. So we can do those two things. Yeah, this is going to be the start. I mean, this was actually supposed to be a small start of our student exam some service. I'm going to continue this service until we have some basic API, and then we are going to actually start to build some other smaller services, like for example for how do you get a notification, for example, if an exam has started, or how would you certain elements like that, which are going to be super easy to develop. And just to remind you, all of your service functions later are not going to cost you anything until you use them. When you're using them, they're just going to charge you by the request, and this you have 1 million requests per month free. And 1 million requests is actually a lot, so you're not going to spend literally nothing. And another million is 20 cents. So I really think that's extremely cheap. And if one of your, for example, services that you developed during these streams or whatever gets used by over 1 million, you're gonna get a lot of money, and you're gonna be quite happy with that. So yeah, so basically that's it. That's it for today. I'm going to update this code in the repo. The repo is here. It's so https github.com /simalexa stream students service. That is the actual link, but I'm going to send it on Twitch as well, where you can download the service and play with it and everything. So yeah, so that's it. If you have any questions, I'm going to just to check one more things on my dashboard and everything. If you really have any questions, I'm finishing this part. If you want to see maybe some pieces of code before we close this session, the stream, or anything, you can feel free to ask in the chat or wherever. So basically, we did today what we were supposed to do. Let me just show you in case some of you are interested. So this is the service that we built. So we connected to the DynamoDB. We have it's a serverless function. This serverless function works like an API. So it gets on the get route, on the get students, it's going to return a list of students which are currently Simpsons characters. Can you imagine such creativity? So if you get students by ID, you get you pass the student ID, and if you didn't pass, it's gonna tell you didn't pass. If you did, it's gonna try to find it in the database. The post to create. So if you send like HTTP post to students with the student name, it's going to create a student. If there is a student name, it's going to say invalid request. And Yeah, it's going to generate the UID, the ID of the student by the universally unique identifier. This is what UID means. And pass student's name. The student's table and the pass student's name is a parameter. Delete, we didn't finish, but because I just want to show how that it's very simple. You just do literally, API delete. So on HTTP method delete onto our students, you're gonna pass the student ID, and based on the UID that you passed, it's going to say, you will just say return document.delete on table and student's name with the key, like you did here with get. Let me just show you. Yeah, like here. So you're literally just going to literally have the same thing here. Let me just say it like this. Just with it's going to be .delete. So document client delete or remove. I'm not sure. Actually, I think it's remove. So I'm just remembering now. I don't know. I forgot. It's on the top of my head, but I couldn't remember it immediately. So yes, this is the that's it. This last part is what we did in a previous stream, where we showed how your serverless function can serve HTML. What does this serverless part means? Aren't there servers involved, for in case some people are interested? So it means that servers are involved, but you're no longer renting servers. You're just packing your function, sending it to Amazon, Google, or Microsoft, those serverless providers, and they're managing this application and for you. So scaling it as much as you want, as much as you need. Actually, not as much as you want, as much as you need. If you have 1,000 requests, all of a sudden they're gonna literally serve all 1,000 requests without you having to move one finger, and they're literally charging just per request, and the charge is literally nothing. It's 1 million free requests per month for free, and each other million is 20 cents. So I think this is quite easy. You will be paying, for example, if you go over 20 gigabytes, for example, DynamoDB actually costs, but it's free under, I think, 25 gigabytes of data. So I'm not sure that if your startup or idea goes over 25 gigabytes, and you're not charging, it means you just did something bad, or but basically, if you over 25 gigabytes, every startup is already starting to work, and you already have clients and traction, and you just need to get money in case you're not getting money. And that's it. This is it for now. We are going to be streaming tomorrow a bit earlier, maybe around 6 o'clock in the evening. Maybe a bit even more earlier, because today I was a bit late. But yeah, that's it. Thank you very much thank you really very much. Thank you very, very much for being here and for following the stream. And I'll talk to you some other time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.